that, as we say sometimes, like the trauma that abuse comes with, it's a lifetime trauma.
Yeah.
You only manage it. You manage it and to learn to live with. So, like when it's not managed, or not, like that's why we advise people to seek help, psychological help. Go to a psychologist.
I think we have to pin on that.
A psychotherapist.
We have abuse, right? So because if someone, a big man, rapes a child who is 3 years old, has nothing to do with gender-based violence. It's just a mad person who is just being abusive. It's crazy. So
that's something I've never understood. That's what I've never understood. For me, having sexual intercourse with a child below the age of 18 or below 16, I will not call it rape. I call it attempted murder.
Right.
Because when we talk of rape, if you have to define rape, what is rape? Rape is the unconsented sexual activity. It means that this person should be able to know that it is right or wrong. Like I want it or I don't want it.
Yeah.
So any child who has not got that age of responsibility, anything
that capacity
that you have, who does not have that capacity to know that I have the right to say yes or no, it has nothing to do with rape. Because rape, we talk of non-consensual sexual
intercourse. But but this one is just, like you said, attempted murder. Every time I think about it, I just, personally, I think, I don't know, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a soothsayer either, but I think it either has to be witchcraft or madness. There is no two ways about it. For me, there is no normal person who be aroused by a baby. Like, seriously.
No, for me, I don't, like for me, it's not, for me, it has nothing to do with witchcraft. Let's leave witchcraft out of this. For me, it's perversity.
Psychopath.
People are just perverse.
People did not psychopath. They're not normal.
Yeah, because the problem is like, it's, I don't know. I really I still don't understand. What pleasure do you derive?
Tell me
for me,
about
it's
it.
like, like it goes back to what I said before when I was talking about when I sit back and then, like I try to reflect. I try to reflect a lot on some of the happenings.
Yeah.
Sometimes, like you go and see a child who's dead. You don't know what killed the child. We just bury not knowing what happened. Who knows what might have happened? Because the rapist is not far from home.
No, don't tell me that.
Yes. No, my imagination is Betrayal, I'm sorry. My imagination strays a lot nowadays. Yeah. I think the past 10 years, my imagination has been strained and I'm getting...
Because you've been exposed to those things.
I'm having a lot of answers to a lot of questions. It has nothing to do. Because when we're talking about this, we're talking about people think witchcraft. It's an African thing, right?
Yeah.
What of the people in Europe, the whites, rape is not only an African thing, it's a global pandemic.
God.
It's a global pandemic. So when we talk of witchcraft, I don't want to put it that. So the white people who do that, the whites don't believe in witchcraft, right?
Okay, let's start from the beginning. Now we're talking about it. You just mentioned death. And that got me thinking, what are the most prevalent consequences of abuse on children and adults? Abuse here, I don't know, sexual abuse, physical abuse, general abuse. Yeah, I just want to know, like, abuse generally, yeah.
It's a lifetime trauma. People, people don't forget any form of abuse. People don't forget any form of abuse. Sometimes, people's reaction, if you've done a psychology of personal growth, I studied that, and it has made me, you know, like to realize a lot of things, even within me, that it was as.
Anyway, let's focus on the consequences. If you have more to talk about, more consequences that we should look out for. Like we talked, it could lead to death in some cases.
I'm picking an example. 2 years ago, we had a 3-year-old that was raped. You know, like she had to stay with a colorectal bag for almost 1 year.
Oh,
because they had to cover her whole her anus and her GG. They had to lock it, so she, you know, like things like that. So it's only last year in March that she had the reversal surgery. If proper care is not taken, little Judy might not have children. She might not birth children. Yeah. So this is some kind of, it boils down now to the, I ask myself questions. That's why I say my imagination strays a lot since I've been an advocate. I have a lot of friends in my generation that did not, you know, like they term them barren.
Yeah.
Has anyone ever thought of
why
they might have been raped and their womb destroyed when they were kids? It's a question.
Yeah.
That's why I say my imagination is trained.
Yeah.
My imagination is trained. Have we ever thought about it? It would have been they were destroyed.
Yeah, we have the trauma part.
Yeah.
We have the possibility of the child not having kids ever in their lives. And you know, I was thinking
women are not the only ones who are abused.
You read my mind.
Women are not only girls are not the only ones who suffer abuse. Boys are sodomized. I have a client. Let me call client because people I hold space for. I call them my client. I'm not paid for that, but I hold space for them. I have a guy who consulted me. This guy, when he sees a woman, he sees devil. According to him, he has been destroyed. He has been destroyed. He was
some of them, some young children, some young boys are even abused by their nannies, you know.
Yeah. You know,
by their nannies. Yeah.
That reminds me of a
Unfortunately, and their parents, their moms will never notice. Their moms will never notice because they don't have a vagina to cross-check. Their moms will never notice.
You know, let me tell you something. Let's learn to, because you know today we talk about abuse. I want to tell you a story of one of my friends. He told me a story that he learned how to have sex with his nanny.
Look at that.
He was a young guy. He was about 12 years, and he said when the parents used to go, they will lock the door and things like. And he's happy talking about it. The nanny was about 15, 16, and I told him, "Are you sure your nanny was not abused by a man in your house who was living with you too, or your dad? Who knows?" It's a cycle of abuse. The young girl that's what they know, and they think that it's some kind of. The problem is like unconsciously people don't know. People think that it's a way of life. One of my volunteers was talking about when she was younger. She used to, you know, like just disappear with her cousin and things like that. They will go in the bushes, do their thing, and come back. And for her, she said it was normal. But today we are normalizing the conversation because the problem is, the problem is like we don't know, so we do it. We don't know that it is wrong. So for it to not continue, because it's like, okay, just imagine, I have one of my girls, Lulu, let me call her Lulu. Lulu told me she was abused by her uncle at the age of 10. Lulu started prostituting at the age of 14.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Yeah, for her, it was a normal thing to have a...
Exactly. Yeah. And talking about that, that's her case. Just like for some, you know, there are some men who think that having sex with a woman is nothing. She's just an article. And I think it also has to do with maybe some kind of abuse that they suffered when they were younger.
Yeah.
I personally think so. So some of these things, people grow up with these unhealed wounds, like we call them. And it manifests in their adult life, and they don't live a normal life. And you're wondering, why is this guy so frivolous? Why does he not take life seriously? You don't know that he's suffering from a wound For him, it might have been some adventure then, but that child was being abused. Whether it's a boy or it's a girl, it's abuse. And it has, like you said, it's a lifetime consequence, especially when that child does not seek any kind of help.
Yeah, but even, like for me, it's like now, I think for the past almost 10 years, like as I say, those are some of us who are on social media, things like that. We've been talking about all these forms of abuse, but people don't follow intellectual discourses.
Yeah.
If you have noticed, especially in our community, people don't follow.
Gossip is sweeter.
Yeah, people don't follow intellectual discourse in our communities.
Anyway, a recap of the consequences of abuse, because someone told me that men die early because of too much trouble from their wives. Because all the consequences we've talked about is true that are connected to sexual abuse, but if we want to look at abuse, like generally from the emotional to the financial one and all of that, let's just like draw a list of consequences of abuse. We have the lifetime trauma thing. We have sudden death or death. We have barrenness in the later stage of the age. We have I don't know what else.
You perpetrate, you become an abuser.
Mm-hmm. You carry that tag. You have stigmatization. Stigmatization that can affect self-esteem.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it also births broken adults,
Yeah.
Broken adults. Yeah. And unhealthy families.
Like for me, it's like like I said, the causes can be reversed. The healing,
consequences.
The consequences can be reversed. Like when you get to adulthood and you start realizing it, for you to be happy. For me, your happiness depends on you, not on your partner. If you are not happy as a single person, you cannot transmit happiness to some other person. You don't know happiness. You will only transmit what you know.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like I always tell people, do not objectify your partner. Never. We have to stop. Your partner, be it a man or a woman, is not an object. This is somebody. This is somebody you choose, because partnership is what? It's happiness. We share our happy moments. We share our sad moments, and we want everything to be okay. We want everything to be okay. We understand, like healthy communication is very important in relationships, and like people start saying that I was hearing this guy saying, oh, women talk about being a single mothers and things like that and whatever. It's because some of the women are tired of this abusive relationship and they choose to be single. They choose to be single because they know what they want. They know their self-worth. You're not going to come and abuse me. You will not come and abuse me. So you will not come and abuse me. So you don't have to tolerate abuse because you want to seek validation from society. You, a man who is abusive, you can heal. You can find healing. Seek help. I know, like in our African society, we don't have a lot of services. We do not have a lot of services in the African society when it comes to, like taking care. As a Frenchman would talk, the prise en charge effective of an abused person. We don't have it. Like sometimes it needs maybe a time off. It needs a time off or time out from the partners to rebuild. It's sometimes you have to you build the house wrongly, the foundation was wrong. How do you want to fix it? You can only go back to the foundation. Take time out, do an introspection. You do an introspection and see what went wrong to start all over, to make that relationship healthy. Is the willingness to want to live a healthy relationship. And if this willingness does not exist, and then excuse me, then, you cannot live a healthy relationship.
Yeah. So in your experience, what are some of the negative attitudes, the negative reactions of family members and community in reaction to someone who reports abuse?